parties to look at law reform as a way to deal with our democratization process. On that note, ladies and gentlemen of the media, it is my great pride and honor and privilege to invite the Secretary General and the party leader, His Excellency Mr. Darboe, to address the media. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, spokesperson, for that brief and eloquent interrogations. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the media. I hope you all had a good weekend. I'm sure. I can say for certain that Ibrahim Adiba did not have a good weekend, because I'm sure he did not have his usual afra, so he could have had a good weekend. But sure, we certainly did have a good weekend, and we that did have a good weekend in Queenaland. And thank you really for responding to our invitation. And one thing that the media and indeed the political class is aware of is that the president is mandated by the Constitution to really make tours of the country at least twice in a year in order to familiarize himself with the current state of affairs, as well as to at least know what impact government policies have had on the Gambian people. Is a constitutionally mandated tour, and indeed a mandated tour that is supposed to be undertaken in order to address government policies. Now, what we have seen in the last few days, I'm not sure whether that was really the type of tour mandated by the Constitution. What we have seen in the past days was a tour that was calculated to really create a wedge among Gambian people, between Gambian peoples. It was a tour that was designed, or at least it was a tour that the president used in order to have, as they would say, to really target individuals for insults, target individuals for really unsavory statements. It was a tool really the president used in order to vent his rejection of particular race, that is the Nan race. It was also a tool that the president used to demean his opponents. It was a tool also that the president used to really show how much he was in cohort with the business community. And then I think it was also a tool that the president used to really show how much he has approved corruption in this country. Instead of the president really explaining to the Gambian people what policies he has for them, instead of the president really using This saw as an opportunity to really tell the Gambian people what he was prepared to do in the health sector, in the education sector, in the agricultural sector. He really went out on a tirade on individuals. And we do not think that the Gambian taxpayers' money was really being properly used. I know the president always acts like a rabid dog. When a rabid dog sees water, the way it behaves, that is how the president behaves when it comes to matters or issues affecting the United Democratic Party. Was there any justification for the president to refer to UDP as a banner party? Because he didn't say UDP, but we all know that it was UDP that was referred to as a banner party. Okay, the UDP, because said that they were going to open their bureau, the banner party were going to open their bureau, but postponed it when they heard that we were coming out to really open and inaugurate bureaus that that you can call a proper bureau. They postponed the inauguration of their NAR bureaus because he was going out. We think that this was very insulting. We think that this was very demeaning. This was very, very unpresidential for the president to reduce himself to the level of what I would call veranda politicians. I think that's not what ought to happen, what the president ought to have done. Calling the bureaus NAR bureaus, we strongly believe, in fact, we conclude that he was referring to the bureaus that he thinks Talib Ahmed Bensouda will subsequently inherit from we, the current leadership of the United Democratic Party. You couldn't have anything more insulting, more degrading than such a statement from the president of a country who should be addressing the everyday problems of the Gambian people. But rather, he is so obsessed with the United Democratic Party. He is so obsessed with who would be the person contesting against him, and in fact, think that it is Kali Bensouda that is why he says, the role Bela Lonkabuko, na role Bela Bana Jedo, Abela Bana na role them. And Naro Abela Bana na role member, there's only one NAR we see in the United Democratic Party leadership. Only one NAR, and that NAR is Ahmed Kali Bensouda. Should the president go that low? Should the president really reduce himself to the level of a veranda boy, to the extent of really categorizing our bureaus as NAR bureaus, and then also saying that it will be the NAR that will take it over? That, we believe, is really is really creating a wedge between Gambians. It is the sort of statement that you would hear from leaders that are divisive, leaders that do not have any intention of creating a unified society. It is the sort of statement that you'll find from people who are really laying the ground, preparing the ground for division among the Gambian people. It was not only that statement that we find on presidential, but he was also asking his supporters that if anything, if anyone should insult them, they should be prepared to fight. And of course, al si per aliye kele al ta turon te dam mampulu al si keloke mbal koma. Well, I want to say, gentlemen of the press, that such a statement is really inciting. Telling supporters to fight is inciting. And we do not expect the President of the Republic of the Gambia to really make statements that are incendiary, statements that really urge sections of the community of the Gambian society to really become violent. He is encouraging violence. And one thing I know is that the United Democratic Party will not encourage violence, but the United Democratic Party will be prepared to use violence to meet violence. We are not compromising on that. We will use violence to meet violence. If you come to us with violence, we'll meet you with violence. That we certainly will not sit down and allow anyone who believes that he has the backing of the government of the Gambia to meet violence to us, and we sit down passively and not meet that violence with violence. That is not a threat. I want to tell you, Mr. President, that is a promise. You're asking your people to use violence against us. We will use violence to defend ourselves. If you think you can use the security forces against us, we say we'll be prepared to meet any section of the security forces, be they police, be they soldiers, be they PIU, citizens of this country. If you want to use them against us, weaponize them against us, we will certainly stand up against them to protect our rights. That nobody will really reduce us to people who do not have rights in this country. We are prepared to die for it, and we are prepared to go to jail for it. We want to make sure that this country is governed by the laws, but if anyone also wants to really misuse the laws by giving improper orders, we will not obey any order that is improper. And we want to tell you, Mr. President, that we will not be intimidated. The arrest of Mr. Diba is not going to intimidate us. In fact, the arrest of Mr. Diba has really made us be better resolved and to be better determined that we will not allow the dictatorship of the past to go back, to return to this country. What we did to keep that dictator, to keep that former dictator, what we did to keep it under control, we will do the same thing with your government, we will do the same thing with you at Barrow. We will not allow you to really come on and treat us as trash. I'm trying to use the right words, not really to be insulting, not to be words that are not proper, but then we want to we'll tell you that we'll keep you at bay as we did with Gambia. No amount of intimidation will cow us down. We want to tell you that what we did until you came to power, we will do the same thing to make sure that our rights are protected. This country belongs to all of us, and you cannot keep on intimidating us. What we expect of you, Mr. President, is that you will create the environment that allows for free political discourse. We know that the past regime weaponized the judiciary and weaponized the police against the United Democratic Party. I am sure the judiciary, under the leadership of Honorable Chief Justice Alh A.N, will not be weaponized. I cannot say so for the police. But whatever you do in weaponizing any institution, we will stand up against those institutions. And I want to advise the police, those who are in charge of investigations, those who are in charge of prosecutions, that you were in this country in the under the Jammeh era. You all went into exile. You went into exile because the conditions in this country forced you to go to exile. Because the police was being weaponized, and some of you who are today in responsible positions in the police suffered because of the weaponization of the police. You left this country, went abroad, you have your families there. You have come back to the Gambia, and you should not allow yourself to be used by the Barrow administration. I can tell you, we still have our connections in the United Kingdom. We have our connections in the United States of America. We have our connections in all other countries in Europe, the democratic countries of Europe. And we are cataloging all that we are doing here. And you know, you are putting your families in jeopardy by really helping and undemocratic, by helping the government to do things that are out of order, a government that is violating the Constitution. And you know the consequences of that for your families. We'll inform them, we'll give those governments all the things that they are doing in this country so that your families so that we can get your family sent back to Gambia. And we can do it unless you stop what you are doing. All the things that we are cataloging them, and we are going to hand them over to the governments of the United States of America and to the government of the United Kingdom through our connections. Because you cannot really enjoy, your families cannot continue to enjoy the facilities, the privileges of those democratic governments, and you are here being used as instruments. You are here used as weapons against parties or organizations that are doing all that they are doing is what is legitimately their right to do. So this is an advice to members of the security forces who are being weaponized, that in allowing yourself to be used as weapons, you are exposing your families in those countries, you are exposing them to being really denied what they are using. You are putting them in jeopardy because they can be sent back because there's no longer the issue of fear that by the issue of fearing any persecution. Now, we have told that some of our members are engaged in insults. I don't think there's anything that can be as false as that. It's the greatest falsehood that the Barrow administration and their acolytes are peddling about. Who started insults in this country? started insults in this country? Who started insulting opponents in this country? I remember in December 2018, so when the foundation stone for the roads and the bridges in URR was being laid, the President Adam Barrow stand there in the presence of everybody. You, in fact, address the nation that day in local language in Mandik after the English, after presenting the English version. He said, Nimomo Atalumana Patio, Womboyality. But Nimbe Koetalu Womuriality. Who said so? He really started insults. And everybody knew that was an apparent reference to me. You can say you want United Democratic Party, but if you say you want the people, they are lying. So, people want to believe that United Democratic Party is the party that insults. It is NPP which started it. Adam Barrow started it. He laid the ground, he laid the ground rules. Did we see a nominated member of parliament at I-22 address Gambian people, an event that was covered by GRPS? Did we hear her say, hello, Keba Jahiro? What can be more insulting than that? Keba Jahiro, you don't think that is seditious? You don't think so? But if you say, Imam Ferno, say that is seditious. They were there, they clapped for only Honorable Ahmad Ba took objection to that, what we saw in the video. Only Honorable Ahmad Ba took objection to it. Adma Baron clapped his hand, he laughed and raised his feet up. We saw that. Keba Jahilo is nothing that would create disharmony, disunity, and disaffection in the community. Imam Fellow that could. As far as I know, Imam Fellow, that in English, I think it means ignorance. Ignorance. So, if one goes on a national tour, and that tour is supposed to be used to familiarize yourself with the current conditions of the country, familiarize yourself with the impact of government policies. If you reduce that to say this and narcotic, you reduce that to caricaturing people that they have lost their network, caricaturing people. Certainly, someone who is ignorant of the import of Section 222(15), only people who are ignorant of that would certainly do this sort of things. And certainly, if anyone does anything outside Section 222(15) of the Constitution, you can be rightly said that he doesn't know it. He's ignorant of it. Among only. But since it's a matter that I understand is likely to go to the court, then we'll just not make any further comments on it. But that talk, it was wasteful. How many ministers went on that talk? I would have thought that in the state in which we are, government would have made some savings. In every region in this country, you have a director of agriculture. In every region. In every region in this country, you have a regional education officer. In every region in this country, you have a regional director of health. So, what do you need? And of course, representatives of the Ministry of Local Government, even though they might not have been qualified, but you have every governor. So that all the departments are represented in the regions. Do you need to take the permanent secretaries and their ministers? Every issue that is raised by the local people, the local communities, the directors are there who could take note of it. The directors are there to really brief the president on the state of education, the regional directors of education are there. The needs of the schools in those regions, people can talk about them, the regional directors will take those, and then when the president finishes his talk, reports will be compiled. So that is wasteful. Take all these ministers, and then of course, you see an array of jacks in their sunglasses there in their associes. Yes, and these people, they are all catered for in terms of accommodation, in terms of transportation, in terms of feeding, all on our national coffers. You cannot have really a tour as wasteful as this as that. You have your AI companies there, your chairman, all these people. There, how many government vehicles have been deployed? I hope our members of the National Assembly put the right questions. The fuel that is used, that was consumed in this store. But we are told how many liters and how much that from the government. And so it's into the millions. All doing what? To promote NPP agenda. Well, inaugurating NPP bureaus at the expense of the government taxpayers. Any sensitive government will really, period, the situation in these countries, no government will really do that. If it is for inauguration of the hospitals or the clinic, as I said, the Minister of Health at least should have been given the honor to do that, particularly the clinic in Yali. The Minister of Health should have been given the honor to really inaugurate that in his own home. But it's all politics, and they think that you can use our money, go on a political campaign, and leave us not to talk. That's not the only thing that we think this government has been found wanting in. I do not remember when President Adama Barrow has talked about corruption, even in the State of the Nation address. If it mentions it, it will just be 2 lines. Gentlemen of the press, since when did Minister Abasanyan leave office? Since when did he leave office? It's almost coming to a year. The reason why he left office, he himself alluded to it. Things were not all right. Have you heard anything about Abasanyan's case since then? He said they were going to conduct investigations into allocations of land. around the Kamaru area. Have you heard anything about that since then? And there was a time, the democratic passport issue, there were updates about it. But since Obasanjo left office, under cloudy circumstances, we have not had anything. So, we of the United Democratic Party believe that Obasanjo's case, nothing is being done about it, because if it is pushed, several other people would get stayed, tainted, mentioned, and they would be Obasanjo's accomplices. We cannot deal with Obasanjo without really dealing with those people, the sacred cows. I asked Adam Barrow to come out through your spokesperson and tell us what is happening with the Abajansanyan case. What we are talking, I think Abajansanyan's case was an issue of, one of them was an issue of allocation of land at Kamaru. But Mr. President, I know as a fact that there's a property on South Atlantic Road, which is the official residence of the Chief Justice. I know I have visited Safely Bridges when he was occupying the house, when he was residing in the house. I know I have visited Chief Justice Ayola when he was there. But now that property, Mr. President, we want to know today who owns that property today. We want you to make full and frank disclosure, because that is government property. That is not a layout. And that property should be reserved as the official residence of the Chief Justice. It's a government property. We are told, Mr. President, we are told, and for you to clear the air, that that property has been allocated to you, government property. It's for you now to clear the air, because that cannot be. That is not right. You cannot use your office, you cannot use your position to really have that property allocated to you. That is government property, meant for the official resident of the Chief Justice. But it's for you now to clear it, to clear the air. Because if you are fighting corruption, you yourself must not get involved in transactions that are questionable. You must be like Caesar's wife, above board. I asked you, Mr. President, to clear the air. And I have no evidence, but I am told that one of your friends, a businessman, is in fact in charge of the construction of the house on that property. Mr. President, these are things that you have to clear for us. Because when we pounce on Jaite, permanent secretary, and the others, not that they have done, what they have done is right, what they have done is wrong. That's why they have been tried. If you really can pounce on Bamba Banja for $50,000, then government property that is alleged to have been taken by you, we have to have something clear about that. Because it's not a layout that we say you apply in the normal way for allocation to be made to you. We don't want to accuse you of having given directive to the Ministry for Lands to give that property to you. So I asked you to really clear that doubt. And I repeat again here that the bureaus, which you say the businessmen build them for you or for your party, Mr. President, tell us the names of the businessmen who built your bureau in Bansam, your bureau in Karawat, your bureau in Soma, the one that is being constructed in Brikama, and the one that is going to be constructed in Banjul. Tell us the businessmen who are doing that great favor for you. Tell us how much each of those businessmen have contributed in building these bureaus. We are constructing a bureau in Soma. I think for the past 5-6 years, we have been constructing it. It's coming from the pockets of Ajiskainaka, Ajiyam Seka, Talib Bensouda, OUSAINOU Darboe, and my wives. Yaya Meten Sanya. We are the people who are contributing, putting our money together and building that bureau. And it's, by the way, I don't think you call that one as a NAR bureau, because that's a story building. But the one in Quinaland, which we inaugurated yesterday, we built it. Tell us the business people who contributed in building. Because we want to say that your government is being corrupted, your party is being corrupted. That is what we want to say. Unless you can tell us that the money comes from clean sources. But, Mr. President, it is not only the proper allocation at South Atlantic that marks of corruption. We are not saying this, but it's marks of corruption unless there's clarity. But if you are really serious in the fight against corruption, all the revelations that are coming out of the local government inquiry, Mr. President, one would have thought you would really do something now. One would have thought that even if the local government commission has not made any interim orders for them to go on leave, you, in your conscience, you, in your commitment to fight against corruption, or at least get the Minister for Local Government to do something about that. People confess every day of having stolen money from us. People agree that they have given money to governors, which was improper, and still those people are in office. Mr. President, I mean, your resolve in fighting corruption becomes doubtful, unless you really take action against those people. I'm not concluding that the real commission will find those people culpable, but at least there's some prima facie evidence that should really spur you into doing something. We just concluded the OIC. That's right. I would always congratulate you for really becoming the chairman of the OIC. I'll always congratulate you. It is a pride for all of us Gambians that for once, ECOWAS denied you becoming chairman, AU denied you becoming chairman, but 57-member country organization saw it fit to really cede chairmanship of that organization to you. I congratulate you. We are proud of you, and we pray for you. We'll work with you so that your tenure as chairman of OIC is successful. Because if it succeeds, it will be a pride for all of us as Gambians. But, Mr. President, the vehicles, I've seen those vehicles, I've seen some of them now given to ministers. I think that is wrong, Mr. President. Those vehicles should be left with the OIC Secretariat. Mr. President, you say you want to make this country a destination for center, destination, I mean, a conference destination. We must leave those vehicles and they become to constitute the fleet of the OIC conference vehicles. We have seen them with ministers. This morning, this afternoon, I saw one of them parked at the premises of a minister. And before I got here, I crisscrossed with the road with another one being used by a minister. Mr. President, that is not the time. You don't make these vehicles osusu. Just, giving out among yourselves. No. I had a story, I had something, I dismissed it. That, it was being shared. That one particular individual had about 10. Well, I dismissed that as not true. But it's possible that that particular individual had 2. But Mr. President, I'm saying that that is not a proper use of those vehicles. After all the ministers had their vehicles. They were all roadworthy. They were using those vehicles before the OIC vehicles came in. Why do we have to give them new vehicles? And by the way, you understand the tender was for 100 vehicles. 100 vehicles, that was the tender. So the agreement and the contract was for the supply of 10 vehicles. But less than 10 vehicles have been supplied. What about the remainder? We are not being told anything about the remaining. I think, is it 82 or 83? 83. So you people who know arithmetic, about 17 more have not been delivered. And we are not told what is happening to them. Again, Mr. President, if you are serious about fighting corruption, all these things will be made clearer to the nation. We have 2 vehicles outstanding, the cost of which I think is 12 million per vehicle. So 12 times 17, how many millions are that? 12 million times 17. You are the calculator, you use your calculator, and you'll be able to tell us. We are not saying, I'm not by any imagination saying that, Mr. President, that there's something crooked. But I'm saying that has not been accounted for. The tender was for 100 vehicles, and the 100 vehicles have not been supplied. The remaining 17 vehicles at a cost of 12 million were a day. That's what whether $204 million is for the 17. Where are they? We, as a party, and we representing the conscience of the Gambian people, say that, Mr. President, please give us an account of those vehicles through your secretariat. We ask you to do that. But one thing that Mr. President promised in 2016 is that there will be no constitution. Now, it is now 8 years, and we are going to 9 years since Jammeh left this country. Since then, there has not been a new constitution for the Gambia. Since Jammeh left, the reforms that the moderator referred to have not been undertaken. Still, you have the laws of Jammeh's time. In fact, Adama Barrow brags about it. He brags about it. Mr. President, you have really betrayed the Gambian people. Because if you can brag about that, that should be a shame. President, you should be ashamed of that. Because that is what you promised the Gambian people, that you will do away with all those laws and put in place better laws for the people of the Gambia. You, Mr. President, promised that we'll give a good constitution. You still have not. And I marvel at the utterances of some of your defenders. Yes, the government constitution does not have a provision. The current constitution does not have a provision for a two-term limit. But the ECOWAS protocol on democracy and good governance, which was adopted by the Gambia before Adama Barrow became president, stipulates a two-term limit. So those false intellectuals who tell me that he was contested, he didn't contest on NPP party, just one. So are you telling me that independent candidates who contest elections and win, they can contest as many times as they want? Is that what they're saying? Because they have not contested on the platform of a political party. What can be a convoluted argument? Do not see an argument as convoluted as that one, an argument as false as that one, an argument as dishonest as that one. We do not expect such type of argument to come from our intellectual class, that it has been on the political platform. So you can contest as an independent, win, that you can win as many as 10, you can contest as many, you can go in as many as 10 times. That is very false. But we are saying, Mr. President, bring back our constitution. We understand that your cabinet was meeting, and I hope, Mr. President, that you have not really agreed with your people to bring a constitution to us different from the constitution that the CRC presented to the cabinet, and which was also presented to the National Assembly. Because, Mr. President, if you do, then, as they say, you are killing the Constitution before it arrives in the National Assembly. Because we have said that any negotiation has to be on the floor of the National Assembly, any negotiation has to be at the committees of the National Assembly. Whatever is to be deleted, whatever is to be added, has to be at that level, not at any other level. Because if you do, the United Democratic Party is going to reject it. That we are not hiding our position on that. So if you really want a new constitution, bring that the CRC constitution, we take it to the National Assembly, and all the negotiations will be done there. Whatever we are conceding, we'll consider that level. Whatever we are not conceding, we'll not at that level. But not a constitution drafted by you and brought to the National Assembly. We are not accepting it. So, gentlemen of the press, we want you to make this position of United Democratic clear and sing it every day. And we will sing it every day at every opportunity. And of course, it is only the reluctance of President Barrow for a new constitution that will make them bring something different from that of the CRC. Gentlemen of the press, wonders never end. I read a press statement, or not a press release, by the spokesperson that President Barrow has redeployed the governors to the position of permanent secretary, deputy permanent secretary. I don't know what they redeployed to the ministries, position of permanent secretaries, deputy permanent secretaries, and the deputy governors were deployed. Those people are not redeployed, because the exact words used by the spokesperson is that those people were deployed to the to the office of the Minister of Local Government I don't know in what section in the Ministry of Local Government they might be. But gentlemen of the press, that was done in order to scuttle, suffocate, and stultify the court proceedings that have been instituted against these governors and their deputies. But there's one thing that I know, that when a matter is before the court, no party should do anything that will really remove the carpet under the court. That is contempt. That thing I know. That when a matter is pending in court, you do not do anything that will interfere with the matter before a court. And I believe that a government that is committed to observing the rule of law will really honor, will really abide, but that follow the principle and leave the courts to decide whatever they want to decide in the matter. But what is more is that you cannot redeploy or deploy someone whose initial appointment is illegal. Because what I do, you cannot put something on nothing. You can only redeploy people or deploy public servants whose appointments are regular. And what they do not do is that once they make that appointment, once they make that pronouncement, we have taken the step to ask the court that those deployment and redeployment are also illegal, because you cannot deploy someone whose appointment is not legal. So we are going to, so they have not escaped. And what is I find strange is that how can the government spokesperson on civil service matters, I would have expected the Personnel Management Office to issue a statement relating to this deployment and redeployment. And in any case, the position to which these people have been taken appear to be promotions. And it is not the president that promotes the positions of permanent secretaries. I think the Public Service Commission acting on the advice of the Secretary General. When those promotions, those things are promotions. The president cannot promote anybody in the civil service. If you do, you are taking somebody's own functions. So they do not know. So if Prime was saying, Iman fell no. Yeah, fell no. Honestly. Fell no, but near fell no. It's okay. Honestly. So, Mr. President, it really worries me if you really, because you told me that you rely on a technician, if you just rely on these nonsensical technicians, take advice from your lawyers in the Ministry of Justice. If you do, you will be doing the right thing. But if you want to rely on these so-called political advisors, on these people that sit with you at your Bahal lunch, and you think you can do things rightly, you are mistaken. Mr. President. And that is what I want to say to members of the press, that case is the governor's case, is not abated. Those so-called transfers or whatever you call them is nonsensical. We are going to make sure that we set all those things aside and that you cannot interfere with court proceedings. And I'm minded, in fact, to bring contempt proceedings against those people who are behaving this way. But I want to thank you all for responding to our invitation to this press conference or press briefing, and we in fact more of the tour and this governance was just incidental. And but one thing I want to reiterate is that there is no amount of arrests, there is no number of arrests, there is no number of detention that is going to intimidate us. We will make sure that all that the Gambian people want, we achieve it. We are working together with the Gambian people. The Gambia, whatever we do resonates well with the Gambian people, and we will ensure that 2026, the people of the Gambia will have a government that is deserved, a government that really responds to their needs. I thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for that extemporaneous and brilliant presentation of the state of affairs in the Gambia. I'm sure the ladies and gentlemen of the press are not surprised, and it is necessary from time to time to have direct responses of this nature. So on that note, I would be pleased to invite a few questions that you may have for the party leader on the comments and any other political matter that you may wish to have clarification.
Yes.
Please identify your media house and yourself before asking the question.
My question is also with Mr. Iba I I want to ask Honorable Darboe as a constitutional do you think what Iba said among the citizens?
Well, my response is that since I'm not sure whether it's going to court, I don't want to preempt whatever the court are going to decide on it. But certainly, I, as an attorney general, will not give my consent to the prosecution of the person for the statement alleged to have been made by Mr. Iba. And also, there is currently a criminal offences bill in the National Assembly. And that bill, in that bill, sedition is excluded because in the whole world, in the democratic world, sedition is considered as being unconstitutional, that cannot guard people. So you do not have it in the law that you are not promulgating, a new law that you are not promulgating, but you want to prosecute people for it. It's a contradiction. Really a contradiction.
Okay. Also, we have seen that the UDP is carrying some decisions that the government, particularly with regard to the appointment of governors, we are just together. And we have seen that they have been deployed to the some of the appointment of UPS, the deputy governors have been redeployed to the Ministry of Lands. Is UDP still going to continue with it? And I think is UDP going to challenge some decisions that the government continue to make?
Well, I've just said that certainly, this issue of redeployment and so forth, it's sensible. Now, we are going to amend, we are going to include it in our case. We are going to include it. Yeah, with this redeployment. In fact, I saw one of the lawyers. I said, well, you think, or at least your people think that at the end of the matter, we are going to challenge them. Because one, you can only redeploy someone who has been properly appointed in the public service. So these people who said, I've not been properly appointed in the public service, how can you redeploy them? You cannot. If your initial appointment is unlawful, is illegal, how can you be redeployed? It's not your redeployment, it's not making your appointment, your early appointment proper. It's not making it proper. And whether we are going to continue, if we believe that decisions of government are contrary to law and they are justiciable, we go to court.
Please, your name and your media house, please.
Yes, Alh A.N from the area of Uganda. I would like to ask in the local language. Honorable Darboe, la province di Governo la Panna. Birin allocation alias support wani ye dolbe ye saba ministry. But jamaka no ko video ni ko alba kari dala ba ye yo ko be because ya de ye ko ye saba ye de belu pala ko do adone place ka wala ni ko ani ko alba kari dala ba jamala ko ye yo menna ye yo ko menna ya ta ka ko jamala. Planyaw men ye idama di ba ko ye diamo ko fanani dala kay birin jawal ko so ni ga kay dal ko ni mon la di ko juro ko be data kon le kes kam do jam wonre mo si ba ko defal ko ale kes ni ale asa ko ba dal bang UDP para ko president boro ya para ko ni UDP woni ko gele loi ya ini se ko ba dal ko UDP ko tay di para be kele wuro ko la e moy ko ko para ko sa video
Governor Lapo, for you don't move the bomb back and the contact. Wo, you make it, Yamera Kabuko, Yetan Candidate. Kabuko, near Bondini Palazzo, near Samani Palazzo. Yalo, your member, the Palazzo redeploy and deploy. But the deputy governor will call you deployed. Governors will call you redeployed. I don't know, come more left deploy, while them redeploy, may along Kabuko, a la class full of Kayamuta, what a class of the Babonica, like a class in May along Kabuko, a la throw Diego, or Palazzo of Nilwata. No Nilwa Montana. If I somebody Kabuko, a la Bondo Wodlado. Kamba dapat Allah 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 ko mabato manni tan ka ko ala taro do ko da adilu ada tan yoda kadu ko ite kamembo ite felna ite femta la yalla me yar ka manke fetti ko fene traje de balana ila nyi deployment ni iba landi no la wula ka bar fene de inshallah no ya mera ka ko yenkana ni mala meli ya mara ya mera ka ko yenkana bari yenkana adu fana hani ya juga finance la ka sila do la ka ko amulta promotional ya palazo ka ka fu e ka mo le palazo ka fu be ya lo ka palazo metano ak la daro je do ade lu ata dan ete mo la palazo ko mo la ada palazo metano ko man palazo ay namuta do ba du fana na dan du ko bana tan asikeno menso ke do Public Service Commission or the President must subscribe to the President must have promotion. Public Service Commission, Civil Service Matter. President Akabu carrying a promote. No, then no, even more promote than the good, don't promote. But what can promotion of Canada, Public Service Commission, Secretary General one layer. Promotion do fana ka depend on recommendation you have to recommend it. So ye koy be ko katan nan dal bar hanbi dal man imara be silo le jade bi tabit ga ko ni batana nyanda le na yana ngai kan na silo tan bay lak ni ga don men ka ko kuma ni ba même fana mo Ibrahima di bay ni men fatel wallahi Dr. Smith say afle kam ko clueless president ay afle clueless mom ne ka kam de man fello ana wadda man clueless mo sama do ko e mo sama ko la ko mo ko mo ko clueless bi yo daw de we know be do ko da bi so adu tel le buli ba ji be na kala ni na ta do bulam ta ta bala mo e kala de ani même bulan wala na mole bunya ji ya ruwa bunya banni me fana ko be ben kele le na da ko be kelo jor la de sila de ngamulo kap nyoma de yalla pilla ba de ade nya me da sila ani ko to kala banam belo la de sembe ni yemen din banam bo kala de be mu de la dro ka ga semba ba du ka ko ndam kandi be an wona tan la to ni ni sembo na tan ko man ka ko ni ni fitno na tan kan e fitno jore ka si fitno tan ani ko mode ban dabana moy ko nan na modu dabana na moy ko da moy ya no boy mo kande Banin na mol mela ko ko fino boyika babula na mol ko ni fino boyal kan alfana alif fino jël alif fino ta kanori bi bidu mele an polisolu dana ko dal ni men yaade yaake ni be fasa ro la faniaka yaake faniaka ni be faniaka fa ni be to nyata man ye to nyata man sa simple as that mantra fana ma ko na mole ko ye fino wuli ma nena mo ko aduna ni ko fana fana ban fana te sila fana ko president ko ba ali kelende sembo bedela bal ko ha ilo sembo de ni na de ni mo na de ilo sembo e boy tanga ni na sependa ya fana be kelenda de self defense one of self defense.
My name is Mariama Agency. I am from Jamaica. President Nana was president of the I come over to many dialogue. We have a about this article information role. Description only, Mr. Deputy, description only, we have because I'm not now. So UDP the Suha that Kala new cool because we not have the president of Kamala new much of UDP the Suha that Kala I know Kala new president of Kamala do not consumer one. So UDP the Suha that
Well, to jabro ni no le science kadu fanga advice ta pananda lonal do unya ta kabila silo bari mem ko mani ko ko mo ini bo kino e mon bari ni bo ko wo yo ni ko mo fata mo me na do mo be yalla kat ka ko amanta mo mo fata le gambia be dunia be ba ko ila nar biro ko bina la bana narol oh mwaka baba mwaka kampo daga ka kuni na pati oni fondi ko be do ko ke kam fondi ko ka ti la ban no naro me mo na pati ko no mo wo ta le gazu juduna ya kuma ba kuma do me ya no ka ko mo ma jiki alfa so ko sun president kam ko be jikila ka ko mo me juta naro le wala ya na biro yela ko na arbi ko juta naro ban naro si ada jane naru bay ko jane naru moro kan jane naru fongo jane murdan naro jane sirano jane naru si ada jane adon na banko la economy jama bi naru jama da na banko la economy abe jama da buja fo naru bay ko lomba fo naru moro kan lomba ko zo ni maja ko moro kan non ajo hote alo de banko e jutu tawu le da wiya la lu tan to wala fasile kata e jutu na rol la ko ka ba e be na rol le do ya mo do le meso tata na rol la ta mo ko ni mare fay hakilo ya hakilo ni wa e kay mira mo e kay mira gene jandi be ko mo fola e fangal Allah ta ka ab do ya rol budina do ya rol jutu na rol wala na yo bar fo si fansi sila dar mo jona wo be ni ta ba ba ko fa de ba mi jona wo mo ni na kala na lo ya da wo si so ta
Tomara ba koma
My name is Alh A.N, from the West Coast Radio. Mr. Darboe has mentioned earlier that the UDP is committed, to upholding the principles of democracy and the rule of law. And also reaffirm the party's commitment, to defend itself against any form of violation of the permitted by the Alh A.N government. We in fact said during your deliberations at the party is ready to use violence to defend itself against violence. My question is, do you think resorting to violent means at any point in time is the best way to solve the problem that you have mentioned earlier? considering the importance of peace and stability in the country, and also considering that the UDP is being regarded as a political party that upholds the rules of law and democratic principles. Thank you.
We certainly believe in the rule of law and democratic values. We continue to really be guided by the rule of law and democratic values. We certainly will not engage in anything that is unlawful, anything that is undemocratic, but we will also not allow ourselves to be physically assaulted by anybody and fold our arms. We will not do that. We have a right to self-defense. That is a principle of law. Self-defense is recognized by law. And any democratic state where you go, the rule of self-defense is permitted by law. We expect a government to encourage adherence to law. We do not expect the president of the country to really incite people to violence. And that is why we say, if, because of the incitement of the president, the NPP people come to us, bring violence to us, we will meet them with violence. We cannot just sit down there and let them do whatever they want to do. Assault us physically, and probably because of assault us physically, they could even maim us, could even kill us because of injury. We will not allow that. We will exercise our right to self-defense. That we definitely will do. In Jamia's time, I said so. I said to Jamia that your July 22nd movement people are trying to assault us, they're trying to intimidate us, but if they assault us, we will defend ourselves. And that is a principle that we'll never get in front of God. We are not going to encourage our people to really assault anybody. We will not encourage our people to attack anybody. We will not do that.
Yes, Kamara Bako, it will be the last question.
Karena kudo bondi ka masa sambak kiti wala ani diam ibedam adi tamola yek doko da boyto ya ba ko ko adani men ka ko la ko wato silo men dia oda kiti wala ita ya sambak kiti wala ya kiti wala dole ya na nyami dalu ka bo nyagi ado ba dan kanyu ko ka ko manyan dingale manyan dingala ngata kiti wala amma ke ni ka ko totally kam 100% kam ko kilo be fi mala ani ka kilo stalo against as kenole barbitu ni zone keno ba the force use no the ko ta no kam ko ni la dindi abe ko ka kamanga silati ye ka to ata mama so ye buzo da ya musa ani be men kala ka kilo me yambal tala ibrahim bala ko ni amol so to beli adon ka ko ye wasa alhalu benya ye wasa alhalu benya no tratamento onyake wasa so ni aje yam sa ka bada to mal bada ko mo yam wasa sa manjare ngata je adu do ya fanate do ya mel bijeto yam wasa ya wasa ñin dol ni ajan ta dem tebta la ñin dol e ka bu ñame rosti malla bilenga nga boyla ñina la na duwal wala ta ko ba no mo ko dos de ron ada ka de wala
Yes, gentlemen, last question.
Yeah,
I'm Abdullah from Asati. During your deliberation, you made it clear that President Darboe is weaponizing the Gambia. That might be perhaps straight from the Gambian period, because that was the question I was using as to your claim. Weaponizing the police force under the rules of democracy. Is it safe to say that the Gambia is sliding away from democracy and adopting democratic government? I don't know.
Well, I have said in the past that the Gambia is gradually sliding into dictatorship. And certainly, weaponizing the police is really showing that the Gambia is sliding into into dictatorship. What was happening in Gambia's time is exactly what is happening now. In Gambia's time, APRC people will go to the police and complain that Ajaskanaka, UDP has done this and done that. They go and arrest them. This is what is also happening with in the current regime. Then people are saying, no, Neman who can you do? They go to the police, report people that they go and they go and arrest them. The man is in Mandinar, Silla. It's NPP people in Mandinar who went and reported, and then they went and picked it up. And then, your complaint is that Mr. X has said this. It's in audio. You arrest the person, you listen to the audio. Do you still have to keep it for 72 hours? What more are you investigating? And that is what was happening in Gambia's time. So they use the police as weapons to really do what they want, to suppress the people. And this is what's happening. You don't need a 72-hour period to investigate what you have or what you have found on the audio. If Ibrahim Adiba said anything, it was said several days before he came here. You heard it. If you had anything to investigate, you must have done your investigations. So now you are using the police as a weapon, and then using the nonsensical 72-hour period, just allow the clock to tick until 72 hours, then you decide to release the person. So that is weaponizing. That is what's happening in Gambia now. So it's happening now. Everything that Gambia was doing is happening now. Was Gambia not going on the meet the farmers law politicking? Was Gambia not using the governors for its politics? Was Gambia not using civil servants for its politics? Is the same thing not happening now? It's the same thing that is happening now. So there's no difference.
Your Excellency, the lady wants to have the last word.
Okay. Sorry.
I don't have a written question for you. Because of all you have mentioned here, because of the discrimination between NPP and UDP, in what way does the UDP plan address discrimination and promotion between NPP and UDP? And my second question is, what was the report of the deputy president election?
Thank you. That's the last question.
Well, we can disagree, and all of us doing our things without really being enemies. We can do that. You see, some years ago, when NPP was trying to get APRC, USAINOU addressing some APRC supporters in Kalindi, he said to them, Jane Dolan UDP, Moisun. So they are the ones who said that UDP is their enemy. We have always that we disagree with you, but that does not make us enemies. But they are the ones who categorize us as their enemy. So if anything, they are the ones who should really making efforts to ensure that this what they call enmity does not exist between us. It is them. And indeed, as I always said, President Adam Barrow has been the one who has been elected, rightly or wrongly, to lead the affairs of this country. So the burden on him to make sure that people live harmoniously, the burden is on him. Because if you go to a platform and say, okay, but civil servants, I will dismiss you, you go on begging, a leader of the country, what do you expect us to do? We will really ask people to go out and vote against him. And when we go out to say people should vote against him, they say, well, these are our enemies. So enmity also, if anything, they are the ones who consider us as their enemies. We consider them as our opponents or rivals, not enemies at all. Now, what was the cause of the rift between father and son? I'm not sure whether there was even father and son relationship. I'm not sure. If there was anything about father son, then someone projected himself as son so that he can get from the Gambian people what he wanted. I think that's all. The No, what I'm saying that we belong to our different parties, and I consider ourselves as really rivals, and there cannot be say a unity between UDP and NPP. I'm not sure that there's a problem, because we really we are separate parties, and the separate parties we are separate parties from GDC. But you don't see there's no enmity between us and GDC. We're a separate party from Joy. There's no enmity. But because NPP thinks that we are their enemies, they treat us as enemies. So it is for them really to work hard and work on themselves, disabuse their minds that UDP is their enemy, that UDP is just another rival. If they do that, we'll all live harmoniously.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Every time we call, you come in your numbers. We don't take your coverage for granted. Yes, we haven't got anything to offer you apart from maybe some water and refreshment. But we are all compatriots, and we are grateful that whenever we call to talk to Gambians on burning issues, on urgent democratic issues, you come and listen and ask questions. And I'm sure you have never left here dissatisfied, because all your questions are answered, and nobody is hiding behind anything. The party leader is a straight talker. Some people even say that he's too much of a straight talker. But I think the country needs straight talking from time to time. And when it is also necessary, the party leader puts on his down and goes to court to make sure that the rule of law is not just lip service, to make sure that this transitional justice that we talk about every day is a reality. Very recently, we had a national dialogue. What has become of that? These are the issues that we hope our leaders across the board, certainly at the UDP level, we will engage with them, and we will share it with the media as and when we feel it's necessary to do so. So again, on behalf of the Secretary General and the party leader, on behalf of the executive, and all the members of the media, thank you to the media. This press conference has come to an end. Thank you very much.
Thank you.